This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe, and let's get right into the news. All right, so Rick Ross's daughter is now a rapper, and she's getting co-signed by DJ Nasty, a legendary DJ in Florida. And, I expect him to co-sign her because he's friends with Rick Ross, and he was part of the reason Rick Ross blew up. I know it's not like that today, but back 20 years ago, which is crazy to say now, it took all the DJs to come together. It was like that up until like 2014, 15, and then really social media took over and everything. DJs are still important, but like DJs had they still have a big impact, but it was even more so back then. So, he's just co-signing her. She I'm going to be honest with you, she sounds like everybody else. I'm going to be honest. But, it's Rick Ross's daughter, and she's going to get a chance, Maybe it'll be successful. You never know. Then you got Papoose. We already talked about this. Allegedly hit comedian Gerald Houston in the face with a book for calling girlfriend Clarissa Shields Serena Williams. You see my nose. It's like Papoose, be thinking he's too tough sometimes, But, honestly, all them years, Papoose isn't a sucker, I'll tell you that much. But usually has a crew with him and everything. And he's going to defend as most guys would, defend their wife, girlfriend, whatever, So, him getting in his face and, I'm just surprised that they didn't know who it was because he's been doing that bit for years, I just don't get how that they didn't understand that was a joke. But anyways, then we got Wack 100 keeping pressure on Jim Jones. New York Bloods turn on Jim Jones and say he's a fake blood. Duh. We all knew he was a fake blood. Listen, there's plenty of fake bloods out here, all right? You remember when Lil Wayne and Birdman and all them were getting pressed in California for being, blood? Obviously, that didn't pan out for the people pressing them, but I'm just saying, people get pressed for gang affiliations all the time. Some people, look at Soulja Boy thinks he's a blood. It's Pyru. Chris Brown thinks he's a blood. It's just, that's how it happens. But, people pick and choose who they want to press for it. Jim Jones feels like he's a blood. It is what it is. It's like, it was a super cool thing in the music industry for a while. Super cool. But, yeah, so he's getting pressed about that. Jim Jones doesn't really know who he is. He just doesn't. He's one of those people who just, conforms and plays a role every day. I've seen Jim Jones be a really nice guy, and then all of a sudden he wants to be, the toughest guy in the world. Me and him had problems back in the day over Max B. And I wouldn't say I confronted him like I was tough, but I confronted him to have a conversation in his studio with all his people, and I think he respected that. He still doesn't like me to this day, but so he still doesn't really like me to this day, I'm sure, but he goes triple plastique, but he is a reasonable person in the end of the day. So Jim Jones is gonna have to deal with this whole blood situation. I mean, I don't think he really cares at this point. And Wack 100, he's kind of looking for the next, situation that's gonna be a buzz for him. He's doing the Pooh Shiesty thing now, trying to say that Pooh Shiesty's a snitch when Pooh Shiesty's lawyer, who's a big time lawyer, got Lil Wayne and Kodak Black pardoned. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, that lawyer doesn't play any games. And he's already refuted the whole thing, so and with evidence. So I don't know. It's like Wack 100 is just looking for something to latch onto. Jonathan Majors checks NLE Choppa on the Bible after he says Jesus Christ was like his brother. He says you should go reread the Bible. Now, NLE Choppa, this is a guy that's going to drive himself crazy. He's always looking for deeper answers. Remember a couple years ago he thought he could bend spoons with his mind? I thought he was joking, but then he wasn't, Then he was living off of the land, which is good. He's always a different kind of person. He's a farmer one day, Then he's bending spoons with his mind another day. Then another day he's demonic. You know, I think he's like just all over the place. Then he went on a spiritual journey for 120 days, and you know, he thought the way he said it in this interview, he says he had he wrote his own Bible on a stack of notepads. You know, I'm like, bro, like, and then in these challenging ideology of Christianity, because he's on the whose podcast was this on? It was a guy. It was a preacher singer. What's his name? What's his name? Why can't I? Why can't he? Looks the one that looks like plows. Kirk Franklin. Yes, okay. Kirk Franklin. He's on Kirk Franklin's podcast. It's a good podcast. But you know, I think NLE Choppa is going to kind of drive himself crazy, to be honest with you. A lot's going on with him. Then we already talked about that. Drake. Okay, so Drake lost his case with Kendrick Lamar, and I don't know how you move forward with Universal. It wasn't just with Kendrick Lamar. It was Kendrick Lamar was the subject that UMG was pushing. He said they were pushing the narrative, Kendrick Lamar. He was going after UMG because UMG is trying to give him a lower amount for his re-up for his deal because they feel like he's devalued after losing to Kendrick Lamar. So he took it to court and tried to go for, you know, defamation, a bunch of other stuff. That didn't work. A judge dismissed it. They're going to appeal it. But in their statement, they said they're looking forward to working with Drake more. How is Drake supposed to move forward with a company that he has a beef with? Is it just business or is it personal? I would want my new contract to be airtight where you have an out clause, you know? Because if they start messing with your career, it's over. They have the control. And a lot of people are like, okay, maybe he'll go independent. He'll never be as big independent. Labels control everything. Once you understand how that works, I mean, they back in the day they would pay MTV gets pay. Oh no, MTV pays them. They have some weird deals worked out with radio play. There's favors for favors for favors. Think of the leverage they have of the artists, you know. Well, we'll give you this, play this Drake for us, and we'll give you the new, you know, weekend, or you know, or play this weekend for us. We'll give you the new Drake. You know, it's a game. They have leverage at UMG. Drake would have no leverage. It's just him. It's just him. He doesn't have much leverage. He has Party Next Door and all that, but it's just he doesn't have the same leverage. And to go to another label, does another label want to take on the debt without having the catalog? I don't know. You know, it's like, so Drake's future. Iceman, this is his last obligation. It's supposed to be good. We'll see. I mean, I have my doubts. I have my doubts if it's going to be really great. We'll get more into that later. And then Stephen A. Smith is confronted by Serena Williams' husband, Alex, who wanted to see Stephen A. Smith face-to-face on First Take after Stephen said Serena should go back to dating Drake after dancing at Kendrick's Super Bowl halftime. Yeah, I don't blame him for he stuck up for his wife, as he should, right? And then Stephen A. Smith even released commentary about that, saying, I don't blame him for sticking up for his wife. That's his wife. You know, like, he came to me like a man and confronted me like a man. What can I say? You know, that's a fact. Anyways, we'll get more into more news. As I said, I'm back from Jamaica, thankfully. Got all that work done at my wife and mother-in-law's house. So we're back at it. Back to the real mic, and I'll check you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm kind of rested now, so I can get back on track.